Renowned person in the field of forensic science, Dr. Arun Kumar Swain. Dr. Arun Kumar Swain has completed his PhD in forensic entomology from Utkal University in 2003. He joined as scientific officer in Forensic Science Services in 1986. He has worked in District Forensic Science Laboratory and State Forensic Science Laboratory. During his tenure, he has investigated different cases in Odisha, which is ended in conviction in court of law. Many culprits were awarded capital punishment like hanging and life imprisonment by court of law based on the investigation and evidence submission by Dr. Arun Kumar Swain to court of law. He appointed as assistant director in 2013 and was head of the department of DNA and biology division. Dr. Arun Kumar Swain has retired from government services in January 2020, but he is still active in imparting the knowledge of forensic science in the field of forensic science. Dr. Arun Kumar Swain has imparted the knowledge of forensic science to Police Academy as guest lecturer. He has also imparted the knowledge of forensic science to judicial officials, medical officials and government medical training institution, Government of Odisha. He has published many papers and research articles in national and international journals. Now, I would like to invite Dr. Arun Kumar Swain to hand over this session. Arun sir, kindly take over this session.
and DNA profiling test. These modern type of forensic investigation will no doubt be helpful to the investigating officers, and it will be helpful for the country. From my experience, the crime scene management time was when the crime was committed to a particular area and the crime scene was in a very compact area. But with the changing pattern of the crime, with the changing pattern of the transportation system in our country, from my experience, if I will share with all of you, a burglar committed crime in a hotel at Puri in the morning. In the evening, the same crime was committed at Delhi in another hotel. He is a criminal from West Bengal. He is acquainted with the foreign currency crimes. He concentrated on to commit burglary of foreign currency. What he did, he accompanied a Japanese tourist from Howrah station to Puri, got down at Puri and developed intimacy with the Japanese tourist, and took a rented room in the hotel where the tourist took the rented room of a hotel. Then committed the crime, left the Odisha by plane, and in the evening he committed the crime at Delhi in a hotel, same foreign currency. He was arrested by the Delhi CID, and during interrogation he admitted that in the morning he committed a crime at Puri, in the evening committed at Delhi. This is the type of modus operandi of the criminal, and the scene of crime started from Puri and extended to Delhi also. So in that case, I was associated with the investigation. When he handled and opened the suitcase of the Japanese tourist, he left some fingerprints at the scene of crime. We collected the scene fingerprints, and it was matched with the criminal who was arrested by the Delhi police on the same day. This is a kind of modus operandi, and this is the type of scene of crime. If I will share another experience and the type of criminals, husband and wife were the murderer. They committed murder in a police station jurisdiction of Puri district in the Ostaranga area. After committing murder, they left the scene of crime and went to Raipur, and the paunji and ornaments from the lady, dead body of a lady, wife of the landlord, they committed murder to 4 persons of a family and took away the gold ornaments and the silver ornaments. And the scene of crime started from Ostaranga area to Raipur. During our investigation, during forensic investigation, I accompanied the crime man's team, and we also recovered a paunji, blood-stained paunji from the house of the murderer. Husband and wife, they were staying in a rented house in the Raipur city. From that blood-stained paunji, we developed the DNA fingerprinting, which was matched with the blood of the deceased, and this case ended in capital punishment. Both husband and wife were awarded life imprisonment in Puri sessions, in Nimapada sessions court. Both husband and wife are behind the bar in Nimapada jail, and they are in the rigorous imprisonment. These are the scene of crime is not now in a particular area. It extends from thousands kilometers away from one scene to others. So the forensic expert and must be meticulous about the collection of the physical evidence in different crimes. So it will be helpful for our investigative officers and so also for the prosecution. With this, I will request Vikas sir to show my PPT to start with the topic basics of forensic science in crime scene management.
Yes, sir. Sanjeev sir has
Yes, sir. Sanjeev sir has started the.
सर ऑलरेडी पीपीटी शेयर किया है मेरे
नहीं आ
नाम पे
रहा है संजीव सर,
हाँ सर
स्क्रीन पर नहीं आ रहा है। आप
सर मेरे नाम पे पिन करिए कल जैसे बोले थे मेरे नाम पे पिन करिए
प्रेस करेंगे आपका नाम।
हाँ हाँ
नहीं आ रहा है।
जस्ट मिनट सर फिर से प्रेजेंट करना सर अब आ रहा है
नहीं, लिखा आ रहा है संजीव कुमार प्रेजेंटिंग।
हाँ सर इसके स्क्रीन पे मोबाइल पे पिन कर दीजिए मैं अभी लाइव स्क्रीन कर रहा हूँ सर अब इज इट विजिबल
नो नो नो,
विजिबल नहीं है सर
नहीं।
sir, it's visible, sir. You have to click on Sanjeev sir ID, sir.
संजीव सर का आईडी पर क्लिक कर रहे हैं।
Yes, sir. Sanjeev sir presentation लिखा होगा, sir.
संजीव कोनी, हाँ
संजीव कोनी
आ
presentation
गया।
ब्रैकेट में
हाँ हाँ
उस पर
आ गया,
आ गया ना सर?
आ गया, फिर चला गया। हाँ आ गया, ठीक है। नेक्स्ट स्लाइड प्लीज। वो थोड़ा उसको प्रेजेंट कीजिए, ठीक है। So welcome again to all the participants. The topic for discussion today is the basics of forensic science in crime scene management. You know the term forensic is derived from the Latin word forensis, which means belonging to the courts of justice or to the public discussion and debate. In layman's term, forensic science is the science for the court of law. This science is exclusively meant for the criminal justice administration. We are analyzing various samples submitted through courts and through medical research and submitted by the investigating officer. The result of the forensic analysis and forensic tests are submitted to the court of law. The charge framed by the investigative officers should be proved beyond any reasonable doubt to the court of law. That's why this is the forensic science. Most important, this science is the in layman's term known as the science for the court of law. Next slide, please. Next slide, please. So, forensic science can be defined more broadly as the scientific discipline which is directed to the recognition, identification, individualization, and evaluation of the physical evidence by the application of principles and methods of natural science for the purpose of administration of criminal justice. The most important is when we are visiting, we visited the scene of crime, we come across the evidence sample at the scene of crime. It may be a scene of crime of murder or any property offense scene of crime or maybe a scene of crime of sexual offense. We usually come across various types of physical evidence from the scene of crime. But the source of this physical evidence is not known to neither to police officer but nor to the forensic experts. What we do, first we recognize what type of biological body fluid or evidence is available It is the duty of the forensic expert to recognize, to identify, and to individualize. Individualize means to whom this blood stain belongs, to whom this cement stain belongs, to whom this hair fiber and any other physical evidence available at the scene of crime can be matched with the criminals or accused and can be linked with the victim. So that is the duty of the forensic experts. So evaluation of physical evidence by the application of principles and methods of natural science for the purpose of administration of criminal justice. But the most important part of this collection of the physical evidence from the scene of crime is the most important and paramount importance. Unless the sample is not properly collected, preserved and dispatched to the laboratory, the forensic scientist cannot do anything, or its analysis has its own limitation. If the sample will be exposed to high temperature and adverse climatic condition, its properties, biochemical properties will be destroyed and degradation will occur in the DNA and all other material will be destroyed. So the forensic analysis will be no way helpful for the prosecution. So right from the beginning, from the collection of the samples from the scene of crime, the investigating officers and the forensic expert must be very careful and cautious to collect the physical evidence and to protect the scene of crime right from the beginning of the investigation, of the scientific investigation. Next slide, please. So forensic science embraces all branches of physical and natural sciences. Chief among them are, you are all acquainted, you all students are acquainted with the chemistry, biology and physics. You have some basic ideas, but the forensic science has its own domain. There are other branches with whom the general science students are not well conversant. We have separate branches. Next slide, please. The forensic, over the years, it has developed its own branches which are more or less exclusive domain of forensic science. That is anthropology, fingerprints, footprints, documents, ballistics, toxicology, odontology, cyber forensic, serology, and DNA profiling were developed to aid the criminal justice administration. You know, anthropology is the subject, the development of the human race with its environment. The anthropomedical studies, the measurement of the human skeleton is the basic need of some of the investigation of the murder cases to determine the age, sex and nature of death from the skeleton. We have to apply the anthropometric studies of the human skeleton in murder cases. Likewise, fingerprints, footprints, fingerprints, you know, it is a definite science. This there is a fingerprint bureau running in the forensic laboratory. The forensic, the fingerprints, chance prints collected from the scene of crime will be submitted to this bureau and they will examine and tally in a crime cases. The prints left by the accused person at the scene of crime is known as chance print. That should be tallied with the specimen fingerprint of the suspects or accused. If it is tallied, it is a definite science. He is the criminal who committed the offense. Then the footprints, and like this footprint is a corroborative evidence. We collect the footprint from the scene of crime. Then the document examination. Most of the criminal cases we come across the handwriting, suicidal notes and other forgery documents that is to be analyzed in the handwriting bureau, or you can tell the government document examination division in a forensic laboratory. Then the ballistics, it is a different division. I will discuss in details what are the physical evidence submitted to be examined in ballistic division. Then toxicology division, odontology, you know the study of the teeth and its analysis, teeth mark coming under this odontology. Then cyber forensic, this is a modern branch of forensic science. Then serology, the examination of blood, its origin and grouping, and the DNA profiling, DNA analysis of samples submitted in various crime cases. Next slide, please. So forensic, most of the forensic laboratories of our country mainly having the following divisions running. Ballistic division, this division receives the crime exhibits, particularly firearms and ammunition. These in murder case and all other crime spots. If the investigating officers is coming across the fired cartridges, fired bullet and firearms, that is to be submitted to the forensic laboratory, and the ballistic experts and the ballistic division will undertake the examination of the firearms and fired cartridges. They will first of all decide whether it is a firearm or not, whether it is coming under the purview of the Arms Act or not. Then the fired bullet and the fired cartridges to be examined whether this bullet or firearm has been fired from this firearm or not. These are the examination undertaken in our ballistic division of the forensic laboratory, and the report will be submitted. And sometimes they will also examine the hand wash of the shooter who has committed the murder by using firearm. His hand wash will be taken, and we have to, in the forensic laboratory, we have to detect the GSR particle, gunshot residues. That is to be examined in Biolo division, Arms and Ammunition Examination division. The next, coming to the Biolo division, this is a division mainly dealing with the crimes related to human being, that is murder and sexual offences. You know, in the blood is the most frequently encountered biological body fluid at the scene of crime. The blood stain pattern and the blood analysis will give the investigating officer a lot of information about the commission of the crime. So in Biolo division, in the forensic laboratory, blood, semen, saliva and other biological body fluids and biological material derived from the human body, like bone, teeth, nail, hair, tissue and all other material is being examined in the Biolo division of the forensic laboratory. Then coming to the chemistry division, narcotic analysis, NDPS Act, you know, crimes committed, somebody is the contraband articles unauthorizedly, opium, charas, ganja and all contraband drugs. So the contraband article or heroin, charas, ganja seized from the possession of the culprit will be analyzed in the chemistry division. They will submit the report whether it is heroin or charas or ganja or like that. So spurious gold and all other adulterated oil, fats and food particles sometimes received in chemistry division. They will analyze and submit the report. And inflammable substance and PDS kerosene, if it is adulterated, that will be analyzed in the chemistry division. Then the document division, first document will be analyzed. The lie detection division or polygraphy division is there in the forensic laboratory. They will help the investigating officer in the interrogation of a person whether he is telling lie or not. There are experts, those who are psychologists, and the modern method of polygraphy investigation is the narco analysis. And coming to the physics division, the most advanced is the voice spectrography and image analysis and audio and video authentication is another branch in the physics division. They analyze the soil particle, comparison of the soil particle, comparison of the gemstone, identification and genuineness of the gemstone is being done in the physics division, and the tool mark impression and the tools, and particularly in accident cases the paints and oils that is being examined. There is a hit and run case, the involved vehicle color will be collected and that will be examined in the physics division. So also the stolen vehicles, what the motorcycle lifter or the vehicle stolen by the culprits, they will erase the chassis number and engine number. The experts of physics division, they will restore the erased numbers and engine, they will restore the original engine number and chassis number. That is the function of the physics expert, and the report will be submitted. Serology division, the blood stain and other biological body fluids identified in the bio division will be examined in the serology division, and whether it belongs to human blood or animal blood, that is to be analyzed in serology division. If it is animal blood, it belongs to which species, that is most required for the wildlife crime investigation. And if it is the human blood, and what is its group. Grouping determination from the dried blood stain is a very complex and tedious process. They adopt certain technique like absorption illusion and absorption inhibition technique to determine the grouping from the dried blood stains. Coming to the toxicology division, they used to analyze the viscera. You know, viscera is the internal organ of the human being. So during autopsy of the murder case and unnatural death cases, the viscera will be preserved in the saturated solution of a common salt, that is to be submitted. The part of the kidney, liver, intestine, sometimes part of the brain will be submitted in preserved condition in a saturated solution of a common salt. In the laboratory, in the toxicology division, it will be analyzed, and what type of poison is there, and what is the nature of that poison, that is to be examined, and the report will be submitted. Then coming to the cyber forensic division, cyber forensic division mainly deals with the crime related to computer or digital crimes. Nowadays it is a challenge for the police. Sometimes your bank passbook account is hacked and somebody is withdrawing lakhs and crores and rupees from your account. This crime is reported to the police station, and the police is helpless to proceed in the investigation of this modern type of cyber crimes. So in cyber forensic division, there are highly sophisticated softwares. Suppose somebody has taken the pornographic picture of the rape victim and made it viral. So that is to be restored. If it will be erased from your mobile, or if it will be deleted, then it will be restored by the software we have received in the cyber division. And other cyber related crime exhibits submitted, laptop, video and mobile will be submitted to the cyber forensic division, and it will be analyzed, compared, and the report will be submitted to the court of law. Coming to the DNA division, it is a modern division. It is widely used in the investigation of particularly sexual assault case and murder cases, because you know the DNA report, the confirmatory report and conclusive report for the court of law. Basing on the DNA report, most of the cases ended in conviction in our state. Recently, in the last year, we might have gone through the printing and the electronics media. 4 rape cases, POCSO cases ended in hanging. And in that case, our DNA division report played the important role. The report was analyzed, scrutinized in the court of law, and the court was convinced that the culprit has committed this rape and murder, and they were hanging punishment was awarded. These are the divisions functioning. In addition to this, there are also sometimes we take the help of from other institutions. Wildlife forensic crimes. Sometimes we receive wildlife exhibits, wildlife crime exhibits. We advise our IOs to send the samples the Wildlife Institute of India, Dehradun, and Lacuns, another research institute, the Laboratory for Conservation of the Endangered Species at CCMB. So they are undertaking the DNA test of wildlife exhibits, crime exhibits. So we sometimes, our state and the investigative officers take the help of Wildlife Institute of India at Dehradun and Lacuns at CCMB of Hyderabad. Next slide, please. So out of previously mentioned divisions, cyber and DNA are the most modern divisions and are widely utilized in the field of crime investigation. And these reports submitted from these laboratories, these two divisions of our laboratory has become immense help for the prosecution and the justice delivery system. Next slide, please. Next slide. So we will come to the crime scene. The crime scene expert should have adequate knowledge, experience, and IQ to collect the right kind of samples, physical evidence, which will be helpful for the prosecution. In our state, the crime scene team has started since long. In all over India, most of the states they have their scene of crime experts and scene of crime vehicles. The vehicle is well equipped with all miniature equipments and photographic devices and chemicals. So they are moving to the scene of crime and collecting the right kind of physical evidence and preserving in the proper manner and dispatching to the laboratory, and the laboratory is able to analyze from the proper preserved exhibits in the laboratory and submitting to the court of law the report from this laboratory. The scene of crime, the place where criminal offense is reported to have taken place. After the crime has been reported to the police, the investigation process is set to motion. Quite often, the success or failure of the investigation will depend upon the processing of the evidence. Next slide, please. So, forensic expert should acquire adequate knowledge on how to recognize, identify, collect, and preserve the item of physical evidence. Sometimes what happens, I am sharing my experience, when there is a report of murder, somebody committed murder, it is the curious onlookers, they will proceed and rush to the crime scene and they will destroy all the physical evidence like footprint, fingerprints and all other physical evidence which is highly essential for the purpose of investigation is being destroyed by the public or the onlookers. So we have advised to the IOs, the moment they receive the FIR, the moment they receive the information that a crime has been committed, first and foremost duty is to protect the scene of crime, not to destroy our physical evidence, forensic evidence or evidence samples at the scene of crime. That is the most important part of the scientific investigation. We have seen in many occasions, I have gone to the scene of crime, but by the disturbance of the inmates and onlookers. The crime scene has already been disturbed, highly disturbed. So the expert will never be able to collect the physical evidence from the scene of crime. Sometimes it is essential, neither police nor public can prevent anybody. Suppose this is a scene of crime of arson or some house is burning. It may be a accidental fire or malicious in nature, but the people will definitely rush to the scene of crime. They will try to extinguish the fire by the involvement of the local people and extinguishing of the fire. Some of the evidence will be destroyed. So arson scene of crime forensic investigation is a very difficult part, because most of the arson spots the physical evidence is being disturbed and destroyed by the public. So scene of crime covered the limited to one place only. It may to extend to one or more places. I discussed in the beginning that the scene of crime is not confined to a compact area. It may extend to 2 to 3 places or maybe more. Or it starts with one place and extends up to a large, long areas or 1,000 kilometers away from one scene to other. So both the scene of crime, whatever may be the number of scene of crimes, all scene of crimes should be protected, preserved for collection of the physical evidence, which will be analyzed in the laboratory. Next slide, please. In a compact scene of crime such as burglary, the scene of crime may be divided into 5 parts only, namely line of approach, point of entry, actual scene, point of exit, and a line of retreat. In every place, the forensic expert will search meticulously to collect the physical evidence. Line of approach, footprints will be available. When the burglar is entering to the house of somebody to commit burglary, footprints will be available, maybe surface footprint or maybe sunken footprints. And at the point of entry, suppose he broke open the lock or used some tools to break the lock of the house or to make the sindhi hole. So that implement and that tool mark impression should be collected for the purpose of investigation of the property offense cases. That is the point of entry should be properly examined. Then the actual scene. In the actual scene, the culprit will, the burglar will handle so many things to take away the valuables and ornaments or money or goods. Latent prints, chance prints of the culprit we have to search and develop using different powders. The latent prints will be intensified and it will be collected and compared with the suspects. Nowadays, along with the fingerprints, we are collecting the swab from that area to get the DNA profiling or DNA fingerprinting from that swab, because sweat is there, culprit cells are there. We are exploiting that sweat from the prints, chance prints, and analyzing in the DNA division, and DNA profile is generated and matched with the suspect. If it is matched, he is the real culprit who committed the offense at the scene of crime. So point of exit, at the exit point also he leaves certain, sometimes the napkin, the shoes, chappal left by the burglar. So we that chappal or gamucha or napkin, from that we can also generate the DNA profile. It will be matched with the culprit. The line of retreat also, footprints can be collected, and if the person has used any vehicle for commission of this crime, motorcycle, then the tire mark impression or skid mark analysis is the part of the forensic analysis that is to be collected and analyzed from the scene of crime. Next slide, please. Next slide. So scene of crimes are again divided into three types. Some are indoor crimes, scene of crime. In indoor scene of crime, it is not difficult because the area is a compact area. The forensic expert will get the ample scope to thoroughly analyze the scene of crime for collection and preservation of the physical evidence. Outdoor crimes. Outdoor crimes is a very difficult task. Still then, if the crime is committed in the outside by the rain, wind and dew, the physical evidence may be destroyed or damaged. So we have to be very much careful and cautious to visit the outdoor scene of crime. I will discuss in details what are the methods we have to adopt to observe or collect the physical evidence from the outdoor scene of crime. And third category is crime having no scene of crime, like fraud and hacking of other account from these have no particular scene of crime, forgery. In these cases, we have to adopt some other means. The suspected person and his sample fingerprint and footprint, handwriting, everything will be taken in that crime. Next slide, please. Next slide. So, all criminal investigation is connected with the people or with the things. It is these things that together continue the broad field of physical evidence. Many investigations have failed in some degree to make the most efficient use of the physical evidence because of their negligence in looking for the physical evidence and placing reliance on the people committing crimes. So that is the most important. Physical evidence, if I will discuss before you, in a murder case, somebody committed murder and left the scene of crime with the weapon of offense, and this weapon of offense was concealed in the house of the murderer or accused person. During investigation, police seized the weapon of offense. Contains a number of physical evidence, but what in reality, the investigative officers usually they look for the blood stains because it is a murder case whether blood is present or not. Sometimes the culprit, what he does, he wipes away the blood stains which will be not visible to your naked eye, so it may skip. That weapon may not be seized by the investigating officers. He thinks the bloods are not visible to my naked eye. This may not be the weapon, but if I will examine in the forensic eye, I will see whether applying certain chemical test whether the blood is there or not. If it is not visible to the naked eye, but by conducting chemical test, I can detect the blood stains, I can detect the fingerprints, I can detect the fingerprints DNA profiling from the sweat present in the handle of the weapon of offense. If it is a freshly seized weapon of offense, along with the fingerprints, latent prints, blood stains, and hair samples as physical evidence, fiber as physical evidence, and bone dusts. If the fatal blow has been given to the person in the commission of the murder, some of the bone dust will be available in the weapon of offense. That bone dust should not be neglected. It should be properly collected and preserved for the purpose of forensic analysis. From the bone dust, we can generate the DNA profile, and the DNA profile can be matched with the accused persons for the purpose of investigation, and his involvement in the commission of a murder can be proved in the court of law by our DNA report. Next slide, please. The investigator must have a balanced approach to the investigation of the crime. For that, he must understand what is physical evidence, how to collect and preserve it, and how and from where to obtain the information it carries, how to interpret the information so obtained. You know, most of the investigating officers, they don't have any basic knowledge about the physical evidence. There are certain trace evidence available at the scene of crime has paramount importance in the investigation. For example, the soil particles sticking to the garment of the accused plays an important role in the investigation of the crime, but they never collect the soil stains or soil particles sticking to the garment of the accused person and victim also. So soil plays an important role. The physical evidence may be microscopic and macroscopic. Macroscopic means which is visible to your naked eye. This macroscopic or larger evidence, larger size evidence draws always the attention of the investigating officer. They neglect, they forget, they do not collect the very trace element like hair samples, fiber samples, and dust and dirt and soil particles. These are all physical evidence. It's a very micro physical evidence. It has very important role in the investigation of our forensic investigation, so also in the criminal investigation. And how to collect and preserve it is an important part of the investigating officers and also for the forensic experts. How and from where to obtain the information it carries, how to interpret the information so obtained. Next slide, please. You know, Locard's principle of exchange theory. Dr. Edmund Locard, a foremost criminologist, observed that criminals often possess some clues on or near their person, or they leave such clues on or near the scene of crime. He thus propounded the theory of a mutual exchange, which states that when two objects come into contact, there is always an exchange of material, evidence. So in a nutshell, I can say every contact leaves some trace. That is the principle of Locard's principle of exchange theory. So basing on that, we are collecting the samples from the body of the victim, from the body of the accused, and from the scene of crime. The scene of crime source is the evidence sample. Its a source is not known, for which we are collecting the reference sample from both the victim and accused and comparing and submitting report to the court of law. So next slide, please. Next we will come to the scene of crime. The visiting to the scene of crime by the IO should be as quick as possible, because with the passage of time, many of the physical evidence, particularly the biological body fluids like blood, semen, saliva, sweat, they will be destroyed or degraded by the environmental factors like too much heat and other climatic conditions will destroy the samples. So scene of crime should be protected immediately, and it should the onlookers, the public should not be allowed. The area should be protected by the cordon tape, or crime scene protection tapes are not be allowed to that area to destroy the physical evidence. So curious onlookers and public should not be allowed. Nothing should be disturbed at the scene of crime. The IO is the first person who is visiting the scene of crime. Then comes the question of the forensic experts. If the IO will not scene of crime by the forensic experts, will be nowhere helpful for the collection of the physical evidence. So IO should be properly trained, and we are also instructed all the investigating officers of our state. First and foremost duty is to protect the scene of crime, not to allow the public, and culprits should be nabbed immediately. So it is the duty of the investigative officer as possible, because the culprits or the accused person or suspects may get the chance to destroy the evidence available in the body of the accused persons. So that's why it is the duty of the IOs to arrest some physical evidence should be collected within a time limit. You know, the blood stains, if with the passage of time the cells will be destroyed, the DNA will be degraded, it will be no way helpful for the analysis, neither in the serology division nor in the DNA division. So from the degraded sample, it cannot be analyzed. Next slide, please. So recording of the scene of crime is the most important part of the forensic investigation. So when we are visiting the scene of crime, we have to record the different information from the scene of crime. The date and time of the affair, the first information reported at the police station, that should be noted, and the nature of crime, the forensic expert should ensure the nature of crime. What type of crime has been committed by the culprit. So location of the crime scene and a brief description of the area, that should be noted in the notebook. Brief facts of the crime, then the names of all officers, witnesses, investigators, and special persons at the scene of crime. Their names should be noted by the experts and by the IO also. The weather and the lightning condition at the time of recording of the scene of crime should be noted. The description of the interior and exterior of the scene of crime, number of rooms, doors, windows should be noted if it is a indoor scene of crime. The location and the collection of evidence, that should be thoroughly noted. Date and time of completion of a recording and examination of the scene of crime. All these information should be noted in a notebook, which will be helpful in the type of trial of the cases. Court sometimes ask to produce these notebooks because to avoid the tampering of the evidence. At the time of visiting the scene of crime, everything has been noted. This is the notebook that sometimes need to be produced before the court of law. Next slide, please. So sketching of the scene of crime, that is another part of the forensic investigation. The rough sketch should be made from the scene of crime. At the site, you have to make the rough sketch. The direction should be mentioned, that is required, and any landmark of the scene of crime should be noted to prove it in the court of law, and your presence at the scene of crime can be proved. Then coming to the photographs of the crime scene is the most important part. Along with the photography, we are also taking video recording the scene of crime. These photographs will be submitted to the court of law, and the photographs should be taken in a progression, in an orderly progression. Photographs will be submitted in the charge sheet to the court of law. The presiding officer, the judiciary officer, will create some impression in his mind from the photography or video recording the entire scene of crime. That is required, and the scientific photography is most essential. Whenever you are taking the photograph of a dead body, never forget to give the scale at the height, extending the tape on the side of the dead body and putting some scales at the injury photographs should be taken. It is required for reconstruction of the crime in future. That is required for that. So photograph and video recording is essential in the crime scene of different crimes, maybe murder, maybe sexual assault, maybe a site, a scene of crime of explosion, whatever it may be. Recording and photography, video recording and photography is must. All the photographs should be taken from various angles and it should be produced to the court of law along with the inspection note or spot visit report. Next slide. Search for the evidence. Before commencing search for the physical evidence, the IO must clear up his mind on how to look for and where to look for and what to look for in the scene of crime. So scene of crime visit, collection of the evidence, it is the most important part of the forensic investigation of the scene of crime. Next slide please. How to look for, depending upon the nature of scene of crime, we have to use our tools and devices to search the scene of crime. Particularly in indoor crime scenes, we use very powerful searchlight because some of the trace evidence, physical evidence like a fiber, hair, may not draw the attention of the investigator, forensic investigator, or may not be visible to the naked eye. So that's why we use bright searchlight to locate the physical evidence like blood stains, cement stains, and hair, fiber, and any other physical evidence, vaginal secretion, that is to be searched using very bright searchlight. Sometimes in the searchlight also the small hairs and fibers may not come to the notice of the forensic expert. For that reason, in the scene of crime, it may be a vehicle where the sexual offense has been committed. So we are expecting some hairs of the victim and accused in the vehicle or in the compact room. It is an indoor scene of crime. You can use the vacuum cleaner. Vacuum cleaner, now it is handy vacuum cleaner is available. We can use that and we can collect after suction. We will collect the dust and debris from inside the vacuum cleaner. We can segregate the fibers, hairs and other physical evidence of microscopic in nature. That is to be collected from the indoor scene of crime. In the indoor scene of crime also, the furnitures and fixtures what are available, that should be thoroughly searched for a detection of any blood or semen, any biological body fluids or any other physical evidence available inside this scene of crime. Then coming to the outdoor crime scene. Outdoor crime scene, I have told, is a vast area. There is no compact scene of crime. In that wider area, we will follow 4 methods of search at the scene of crime. These methods are strip method, spiral method, zone or quad method, and fourth one is the wheel method. The first strip method is the scene of crime will be made covered to the size of a rectangle, and the 5 persons will be engaged. One will be leader of that search team. The leader will remain present separately. These 4 persons will start searching in the parallel to each other in both sides of a rectangle. They will move in the crime scene area. Any sort of physical evidence available, they will collect and hand over to the leader. Leader will keep it in a systematic and a proper manner, preserve it and pack it, hand over it to the IOs or to the expert maintaining the chain of custody. Then second one is the spiral method. This spiral method is usually what 4 persons will stand separately. They will move in a spiral manner and reach at the center of the scene of crime, so that every physical evidence available at the scene of crime will never go unnoticed from the eyes of the search team. This is the spiral method. Then third one is the zone or quad method. Zone or quad method is the entire scene of crime should be made to a square. Then the square should be divided smaller squares. These 4 persons are engaged to search every small squares. So their attention, their focus will be more on that small square area. Any physical evidence available will be collected and hand over to the leader for a proper collection, preservation of the physical evidence. Then fourth one is the wheel method. In this method, what will happen? The outdoor scene of crime will be made to a circle. All these 4 persons will stand in the center of the circle. They will move along the path of the ready. 4 persons will be 4 ready. By this way, they will repeat. So the entire scene of crime will be searched by these 4 persons. So these are the method, technical method or scientific method of search from the outdoor scene of crimes. If the outdoor scene of crime is more than one, then the same method will be followed. Mostly the spiral and quad method is followed in the searching of the outdoor scene of crimes, and proper collection of the physical evidence can be made by this method. Next slide, please. Where to look for clues? I have told, if it is a indoor scene of crime, never leave the underneath of the carpet and the back side of the door, back side of the underside of the furnitures, fixtures. So all these thoroughly searched with the searchlight for detection of biological body fluids like blood, semen, saliva, if there is a crime against the human being inside the room. So that is to be searched. If it is a property offense, then the fingerprints will be thoroughly searched using bright light, and also the swab from the sweat available areas for DNA fingerprinting. This is the look for clues from a indoor scene of crime. Then next slide. Then what to look for? Nothing at crime scene is insignificant. Very trace element, very microscopic evidence has its high importance in the investigation of crime cases. The investigator should bear in mind that the traces, however insignificant at the first appearance, may prove of immense value later on. The position and the collection of the everything at the scene must be taken proper note. Photographs should be taken before collection of the samples, then collected, adopting certain precautions so that the sample will not be destroyed during the process of collection and preservation. Next slide. Next slide. So,
Change the slide.
So we have to notice at the scene of crime, overturned furniture, disturbed wall hanging, broken doors, windows, glass panes, displaced article, position of the victim, etc. In most of the scene of crime of suicidal hanging, we have come across the overturned stools, chairs, and the crime scene has been highly disturbed. Before taking the extreme decision by a person, he will disturb the scene of crime. And sometimes also, if somebody will be forcefully will be strangulated at the scene of crime, the dead body will try to survive himself. So there will be a huge disturbance, and the position and at the scene of crime should be properly photographed and noted, and displacements of the articles should be observed. Every disturbance, every position of the furnitures, articles found at the scene of crime should be noted, and the position of the victim is also most important, whether the head, tail, and whether it is in the head towards the belly facing towards the ground, or in the supine position, or in prone position, that is to be noted. Next slide, please. The physical evidence present at the crime scene, depending upon the nature of crime committed, there is no limitation of the physical evidence. I cannot, but here I will discuss before you. There are certain common physical evidences we do collect from the scene of crime, which will be helpful for the prosecution. But sometimes we may also come across the unusual physical evidence that is to be analyzed, and a report should be submitted. Unknown chemicals, unknown materials, that is to be analyzed in forensic laboratory, but in most of the crime spots we come across the different physical evidence. I will discuss before you. Next slide, please. So first physical evidence I have discussed here, the fiber, hair, fabric, including usual type of fibers. The fiber, hair and fabrics, these are the usual physical evidence we do come across in the crime scene of murder, crime scene of the rape, and crime scene of the accident spots or hit and run spots. So what is the value of these fibers? The matching of fiber is the most important part to link the criminal with the crime. During the commission of the sexual assault, some of the fibers from the sari or garments of the victim may be transferred to the garments of the accused. We do collect the foreign fibers from the garment of the accused and the usual fibers from the garment of the victim. We do match in the laboratory. If it is matched, the involvement of the culprit is proved. So also hair is a common physical evidence we come across in murder, rape and other crime against the human being, and so also in unnatural sexual offense like bestiality, the sexual act with the animals. So in that case, hair analysis is the most. Hair, whether it is a human hair, forensic expert can analyze microscopically and tell whether it is a male hair or a female hair, which part of the body it is come from, and whether it is matched with the hair of the victim, hair collected from the garment of the accused. These are the tests will be conducted. So also fabric, including the usual type of hair, a piece of garment may be collected from the bumper of the involved accident vehicle. We collect the piece of fabric and we will compare it with the garment of the dead body of the accident spot. So that is the analysis of the fiber, hair and hair. Then stains of blood, semen, saliva, sputum, urine, etc. These are the biological body fluids. We come across the spot of sexual offense, including unnatural sexual offense and natural sexual offense like rape and POCSO cases also, in bestiality and other unnatural sexual offenses. So you know blood is the most significant biological body fluid in almost all crime spots. So blood stain analysis the blood stain is circular in shape or pear shaped, that will give the information whether it is blood has fallen at a right angle to the surface or substratum, or it has fallen less than 90 degree. That will give some information about the commission of the crime. Coming to the analysis of blood, whether it is human blood or animal blood, that is to be analyzed. Likewise, semen, saliva will be analyzed both in biology, serology and DNA division, and a report will be submitted. Then the chemical stains like paint, grease, acid, petrol, etc. These paints comparison is done in the physics division, and paint analysis will be chemistry. So also grease, acid, petrol, chemistry will be analyzed. But we have to collect from the accident crime spot or scene of crime. Physical evidence is there at the scene of crime. Then dirt, dust, debris, soil, vegetable matter, pollen grains. Somebody committed the offense at the outside in a bushy jungle, the rape case. Committed sexual assault in a bushy jungle. Some of the pollen grains and leaves, dried leaves also will be carried by the culprit in his garment. That is to be collected and will be compared, which is very important in the involvement of the criminal in the crime. So fragments of the glass, metal and metal fillings, etc. that is to be collected, and in accident spots, in burglary spots, we come across the glass fragments. Those the broken glasses will tell whether the impact is from inside or outside. Analysis can tell. So that is to be collected as physical evidence from the scene of crime. Next slide. So firearms, cartridge cases, pellets, bullets, powder marks. I have told the scene of crime of firearm murder by using firearms. These are the physical evidence we will come across at the scene of crime, and the bullet will be recovered from the body of the dead body during postmortem. So that is to be preserved, whether this bullet has been fired from the firearm seized from the possession of the accused person or not, and the report will be submitted. So tire marks, skid marks, teeth marks, tool marks, erase marks, these are the physical evidence. Tire marks, skid marks we come across in the accident spots, and teeth marks we come across in the rape cases on the body of the victim and the body of the accused also. So tool marks in the burglary spot and other crime spots, somebody used some tools, and erased marks, the vehicle number, chassis number, and has been erased, that is to be preserved as physical evidence. We have to restore the erased numbers by application of different chemicals and light sources. Fingerprints and footprints, it is available in every crime spots committed by the crime, and the crime particularly involving the human being, murder, rape and other offences. So poison, vomit, viscera, residues of bottle, these are the physical evidence that is submitted to the laboratory. If poison container, vomiting substance is available at the scene of crime, residues of bottle, glass or any utensils available from the poisoning case, that is to be collected as physical evidence, will be preserved and sent to the laboratory for analysis. Document in the forged document can be analyzed, whether it is a forged one or genuine can be, and the who is forged the document can be compared, taking the specimen fingerprint of the forger and the real document owner. So weapon of offense, I have discussed, it is used for a commission of the murder. Weapon of offense contains a number of physical evidence like blood, hair and fiber, dust and sweat, that is to be preserved. Bone, skull and teeth. Sometimes after committing the murder, the body will be concealed either by digging a pit or thrown into a dense forest. It will be noticed after a long years or long days. The only skull, bone and teeth will be available. So that is to be analyzed, and the identity can be established by the DNA profiling, taking the blood sample of the parents and other relatives, so that bone skull should be preserved properly for a forensic analysis. Next slide. So an efficient, skilled and trained forensic expert will manage the scene of crime very smoothly. So he will collect, preserve physical evidence and preserve it properly for the purpose of chemical analysis at the forensic laboratories. Next slide. Improper preservation of evidence from the crime scene will be no way helpful for the prosecution. Crime scene management, the most important part of the scientific investigation of various crimes. I tell you, this is not the most important thing is during my tenure in the district, I have inspected a lot of murder cases and the property offense cases and explosion cases and like that. Most important part is preservation, which is the most important. Proper collection preservation will be helpful definitely for the investigation, no doubt. It will be helpful for our day-to-day investigation. Next slide, please. So thank you all participants and the faculty, including Moez sir, director of the Forensic School of Forensic Science, Centurion University. You have given me the opportunity to discuss this topic before your students and faculty members. I have tried my best to cover, but it is not possible to cover all the scene of crime. I could not share my experience that I have gathered during long years of service in the field of forensic science. Many interesting crime investigation I have closely associated, and I got the satisfaction when the case ended in the court of law, the capital punishment. So if the opportunity comes, I will definitely share my experience and most sensational crime scenes and what I have collected, I will share in future. Thank you all for your present hearing. Thank you all.
Thank you, sir. Thank you so much for your informative session. Now, before moving on to question and answer session, I would like to brief about Centurion University, and we will start with a presentation and a video. So, dear participants, thank you for participating in this seminar. I would like to brief something about Centurion University. Centurion University is the only one and first university in eastern region of India that offers BSc and MSc Forensic Science and Cyber Security and Digital Forensics. Centurion University of Technology and Management signed a MOU with Gujarat Forensic Science University as knowledge partner. Gujarat Forensic Science University is the first university across the world which is only dedicated to forensic science and investigative science. The School of Forensic Science is the department which offers MSc Forensic Science, Cyber Security and BSc Forensic Science. Centurion University offers 4 specializations in MSc Forensic Science, that is Forensic Physics, Forensic Biology, Fingerprint and Question Documents, and Forensic Chemistry and Toxicology. Centurion University have 4 regular faculties for the forensic science, that is Ms. Shruti Rajwar, Ms. Varsha Singh, Mr. Sanjeev Koni and Mr. Vikas Kumar. Our students go to Gujarat Forensic Science University for more than 1 month internship program and have the opportunity to visit Directorate of Forensic Science, Gandhinagar, Ahmedabad, Gujarat. And our students have also given the exposure to State Forensic Science Laboratory, Rasulgarh, Odisha, and they also have the opportunity to visit Capital Hospital to see post-mortem investigation and different live cases. So if you have any query, you can contact on given number. Thank you all. Now we can move to question and answer session. If you have any query, you can ask one by one. Mr. Dushmant Kumar Jena, you can open your mic, unmute your mic, and you can ask your question. Mr. Dushmant Kumar Jena. Okay, we will move on to next participants.
Sir, what is placement? Sir, what is about placement?
Sorry.
Sir, what is about the placement?
Okay, Swain sir.
Placement.
Actually, placement, you can also, the MSc students, they can be observed in the forensic laboratories all over the country. But in our state, the process is in the government level. Very shortly, the MSc forensic will be included in the federal rule, and the MSc students will join. Another placement is like NET, National Eligibility Test. The MSc forensic students can seek for the exam that is known as a PACT. Forensic Aptitude Common Test are conducted by the NICFS, National Institute of Criminology and Forensic Science. After qualifying that, from that list, the most of the CFSL, Central Forensic Laboratories and State Forensic Laboratories of our country, they are taking the students from the fact qualified list. And in addition to that, these forensic students also can join in the as a faculty. In the government is already approved 6 central forensic universities will be opened very shortly in 6 states. The states have given their consent, and it has been approved by the Ministry of Home Affairs. So when there is a departments in a university, there will be a huge need of faculty in the field of forensic science. So bright future ahead of the forensic students, what I feel in future. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Sir, what will the next opportunity after graduation in this field in government sector, except factory?
After completion of graduation in forensic science. Hello.
In any government sector. Hello, sir. In any government sector.
Government sector, actually after completion of the graduation, you may be observed in the forensic laboratory as a technician, which has a very limited bright future. Promotional avenues will be limited to the technician. If you will complete a MSc in forensic science, then you will join as a scientist, and your bright future is ahead in the forensic services, maybe at central forensic laboratories or in the state forensic laboratories. So it is advisable, if you have completed BSc, don't go for the job and try to complete the MSc in forensic, so that the better avenues will be before you and you will join in a good job. So it is my sincere advice. Don't discontinue and join in the job after graduation. Go for the post graduation in forensic science. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Sir, I have another question. Will be there any opportunity in defense sector in this field?
Actually, different. What is your query, sir? In defense sector, defense.
Yes, sir. Yes.
I don't have any idea about the defense opportunity, but this cyber forensic is a bare need in all sectors, in maybe defense or paramilitary or in the police of all the states. Digital forensic evidence is required because sometimes our defense info being hacked.
Thank
Hello.
you.
Thank you.
Hello.
Hello. Okay, we will move to next participants.
Yes, sir.
Okay, if anyone else have question.
Hello, good afternoon, sir.
Sir, I have another question. One more question. So, what's the rate of placement in Centurion University, in particular that field, forensic science and engineering?
It is not clearly audible.
Sir, what's the rate of placement in Centurion University, in particular forensic science and management field?
Actually, you can ask to Vikas sir or Amulya sir can clarify as regard to placement of the students. I think MSc only students who are batches passed. They can tell you better, clarify your query.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Amulya,
Yes.
Amulya to reply this question, where is Amulya?
Sir, sir.
So, reply now. Fast batch में reply.
Separately, Guru sir phone करता हूँ. Sir, phone. Again, ask question. Hello.
Amulya, the question was that what is the placement scenario of forensic students in Centurion University?
Yes, sir.
Exactly.
The forensic students are being placed in pharmaceutical industries who are in forensic biology and forensic chemistry. Our first batch students, they are already placed. One is at government food testing laboratory in Gujarat. That is in specific, it is in Rajkot. Her name is Arpita Sahu, and another two is in Mumbai. One more is in that pharmacovigilance in Karnataka, and one in Hyderabad. So this is the scenario.
Amulya, this is important for the audience to know. The first batch started 2017. It was pretty late while launching in October month. Hence, we got only 10 students. And out of 10, I think 8 or 9 already been placed. Okay, Amulya?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
So that information is important. So it is almost 90% placement ratio. Almost all they have got job. One or two those have not got. Job offer is there. They would not like to leave Odisha. That is why slightly delayed.
Sir. Yes, selected in that bulletproof jacket factory. It is in Delhi, but the students they told we are preparing for government sector, so they didn't attend.
Yes.
Any more questions?
I have one more question. So, what will be the eligibility criteria to study forensic science and management in your university, Centurion University?
Wow.
Eligibility criteria is for MSc. Any graduation is having 50% of mark. 50% of mark.
Are you asking about MSc or BSc?
Or undergraduate?
Hello.
For undergraduate, what will be the eligibility criteria?
It is not audible.
Sir, he
Hello,
is
sir.
asking
What
about
about the
eligibility criteria of undergraduates.
undergraduate? Yes, sir.
Undergraduate means you want to take admission in BSc.
Obviously. Yes, Amulya, please reply.
If it is BSc, then you have to pass in physics, chemistry, biology, having 55% of mark. You have to apply for one entrance test was there, Centurion University entrance examination. But due to COVID situation, there is we are going for online booking. It's like that.
Okay, only is there only MSc program is there?
No, BSc is there, MSc is there.
It is in except government, SR is there. It is a class one officer in government level in all other state as well as in your crime record. Except government, SR is there. It is a class one officer in government level in all other state as well as in your crime. Except government, SR is there. It is a class one officer government level in all other state as well as in your crime. Except government, yes, it is a class one officer government level in all other state as well as in your crime. Except government, yes, it is a class one officer government level in all other state as well as in your crime. Except government, yes, it is a class one officer